Welcome back to my channel. In today's video we're going to be going over diffusion. Diffusion is the net movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to low concentration down their concentration gradient. Diffusion occurs in liquid and gas environments as the molecules in these substrates can move freely. If we took a glass of water and we added some green dye molecules, all the dye molecules would be found in a high concentration near where they were added. Over time, these particles will move and diffuse around the water to areas of lower concentration until they are evenly dispersed throughout the water. Diffusion is an important way small molecules move across cell membranes. There are two types of diffusion across cell membranes: simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion. Simple diffusion involves the net movement of molecules across the membrane itself, from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Small molecules such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, and glycerol are able to move through the cell membrane through simple diffusion. The molecules are continuously moving, and some may actually move back across the cell membrane, but overall the molecules are moving from this area of high concentration to the area of low concentration. This movement usually continues to occur until the molecules are evenly dispersed on both sides of the cell membrane. An example where simple diffusion occurs is during gas exchange between the alveoli cells of the lungs and the capillaries that line them. Facilitated diffusion is the net movement of molecules across the membrane from an area of high concentration to low concentration through a transport protein embedded in the cell membrane. This movement is also passive and does not require energy. There are two kinds of transport proteins involved in facilitated diffusion through the membrane: channel proteins and carrier proteins. Channel proteins have a pore going through them which allows the movement of ions through it across the membrane. These channel proteins are selective to specific ions and can sometimes be gated. Carrier proteins have a receptor site that the solute binds with, which causes the carrier protein to have a conformational change, which enables the solute to cross through the carrier protein from one side of the cell membrane to the other. Carrier proteins only bind specific molecules. The rate of facilitated diffusion is faster through channel proteins than it is through carrier proteins. An example of facilitated diffusion is seen in the voltage-gated potassium channels on the axons of nerve cells. So here we have what would be the cell membrane on an axon of a nerve cell, the lower side being the inside of the cell, the upper side the outside of the cell. The protein embedded is a potassium channel. It has a hydrophobic pore running through it, which the potassium ions move through. They also have a specificity filter in their structure that restricts ions other than potassium moving through them. They are also voltage-gated and have a gate-like structure, which is either closed or open based on the transmembrane voltage. Here it is currently closed. We also have potassium molecules that are in a higher concentration inside the cell compared to outside the cell. Next to this we have a graph that represents the changing membrane potential in a nerve cell over time after a stimulus has been received. Once a stimulus is received, the membrane potential rises rapidly before falling again. This is known as an action potential. The voltage gate will only open the channel once a specific voltage has been reached. This is usually at a peak of 30 millivolts. Once open, the potassium can move through the channel. There are many factors that affect the rate of diffusion. One of these is the concentration gradient. If the concentration gradient is higher, then the rate of diffusion will be higher. Another factor is temperature. If the temperature increases, it increases the kinetic energy of the particles and as a result increases the rate of diffusion. Pressure is another factor. If the pressure increases, it increases the kinetic energy of the particles and as a result increases the rate of diffusion. Another factor is the membrane thickness, as it affects the diffusion distance. The thicker the membrane, the bigger the diffusion distance and the slower the rate of diffusion. One last factor is the size of the molecules. The larger the molecule, the more resistance put on it as it diffuses through the membrane, which reduces the rate of diffusion. Thank you for watching. If you want to support this channel, please subscribe and check out more of my videos.